Hello, everyone. I hope everyone is having a great day so far on this Saturday afternoon. Today, I'll be talking about the incoming pattern change coming across America as a whole. But before I get into that, could you quickly hit that like button for me? I truly appreciate if you take time out of your day to hit that like button. Now, on your screen here is the GFS 500 millibars. And if you follow the lines, you can see you have your trough going into the East Coast. A trough is a jet that transfers cold air from anywhere part of the whole world, you could say. And as you can see here, this is Thursday morning on your screen right here. You have a ridge going up into the west coast that is forcing this cold air down. That's why this midweek that we just experienced was very cold. And you also have a block that causes cold air to be forced down from the Arctic as well. Now, if we clear this off the screen real quick and go a little bit into, let's say, Monday, Tuesday afternoon, morning time, you could see that we have our higher heights down here in the south, which is a little bit of a ridge forming, and you also have lower heights, which is your trough in the west coast coming down to give cooler air. Now, this is the pattern change. Across the east coast will be a lot warmer than it was this past week, and on the west coast it'll be a lot. Now, if you want to advance this a little bit and see how it progresses, you can see the ridge transfers off to the east coast, just south of Bermuda here. The closed isobar here is your ridge. You have a low pressure system off Canada. It's almost like a 50-50 low, but not quite exactly. And you have, again, your trough out in the west, and it's pretty much a flat look. You have some storms up in Canada and some lower heights down in Alaska, but overall, it's pretty much a flat zonal look, besides that one ridge out on the Atlantic coast. If you advance it a little bit more, you could see quickly you have higher heights building once again in the West Coast. This has been a theme since all summer long. You have your heights building up. This is a very big positive PNA forming. If you have this big ridge like this stretching all the way from the West Coast all the way into northern Canada, there's no other way for the cold to go into the West Coast, so it gets displaced out into the east. Now, before I get back into this, I just want to show you why we are going into this look where you have your troughing out in the west into this look into. Now, on your screen here is the MGO. In my opinion, it is the most dominant factor when it comes to winter, whether we get cold or warm. On your screen here, this is where it is the past couple weeks, the past couple days, I should say. You can see it's in the one range. If we go to what the one range looks like, it matches up pretty well what we just had. Colder temperatures out in east and warmer temperatures out in the west. If we go back to this, you can see it's going into the 6 and 7 range. If we take a look down here, 6, you have ridging out in east, colder conditions out in the west, troughing, you could say. And same thing for 7, ridging and warmer temperatures out east and troughing in the west in colder conditions. Now, the reason why I say the pattern change will quickly change after that is because look at this. It quickly goes into 7 and then quickly goes back into 8 and 1. As we know, 1 is very cold for the east, but 8 is also very cold for the east as well. If you're in the middle part of the country, it looks like you're going to be either way screwed over a little bit by this. If it's in the 3 range, pretty much the whole country is very cold, and as you can see here, for only one GFS ensemble model takes it into 3, but that is very far. If we go back to GFS here and take in what I just said, everything matches up with the MGO forecast. You have your ridging out here and stretches back all the way up into Canada. But as we continue here, it continues to build into Canada, and as you can see here, we have this big trough. And if you follow the isobars down, you can see this air is coming straight from the Arctic Circle up there. This is very cold air for this time of year in mid-November, and this is right before Thanksgiving. Now, I think the GFS is a little bit too early with the change like this, but I could be wrong. I think it's going to happen a couple, let's say, a couple days before Thanksgiving, not the 19th. I think maybe around the 23rd, possibly, the change happens. Or it could happen the first week of December. But I'm liking how the GFS is showing this now. If we go back one run, you can see it didn't have this at all. It had a trough out in the west and ridging in the central part of the country. And if we go back one more, you can see it has ridging out in the whole eastern seaboard and a lot of troughing out in the west. What is the difference between these past three runs. I want you to look in this region by Hawaii. Notice you have higher pressure anomalies near Hawaii, and if you go back one more, yeah, it's a little bit lower, but if you go to back now, you can see you have this trough right by Hawaii. Normally, when you have a trough or lower pressure system right in this region, you tend to have ridging on the west coast and troughing on the east coast. All around the world, it has to follow a symmetric pattern, so you have ridging out in here, and you have a trough back in Europe. You have a ridge out here, trough out here, and you have ridging back towards Asia. And as you can see, it's a little bit part of that on the screen. The whole world has to follow a pattern. So if you have a ridge in one region, on the opposite side, like on the East Coast, you have to follow with a ridge. Now, this is the pattern that we're going to be following from, let's say November 5th all the way right up into Thanksgiving week. The next 1 to 2 weeks ish could change as time goes on, but notice once again you have your ridge down in the south, which forces a trough out in the west, and in this region that's circled or highlighted in the blue, that is below average temperatures, as once again a trough sets up out in the west and a ridge forms in the south. Now, if you go to Thanksgiving weekend after, this completely flops and changes. You have a big ridge possibly forming in the west coast, and a trough forms out in the east. This could be the potential time frame that we could experience a winter storm along the east coast, but this is too far out. This is 3, 4, 5 weeks out. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I hope you all have a great day and